Hey, Mel.
Hey.
Guess what we're doing?
I'm going to say it's probably another Readathon.
That's right. We're doing a readathon, and full disclosure, we are taping a few minutes before the end of court today because I said, I'm bored. Do you want to go ahead and tape? So if anything like incredible happens with this witness that's different from trial one, we'll have to talk about it in a future episode because
I don't think it's going to be different.
I mean, right now, just to wrap it, we're hearing from a state lab expert who seems super nice. They all seem super earnest, right? The police lab people. This
Just
is
doing their jobs.
Christina Hanley, and she is talking about analyzing glass and plastic found at 34 Fairview and on the bumper of the car and the cocktail glass. We all know the cocktail glass pieces do not match anything. Or the alleged cocktail glass pieces do not match the actual cocktail glass. No, it doesn't really matter right now. But all right, I'm going to give you a chance just to react generally to our friend Shanon Burgess. 'Cause I didn't get to talk to you yesterday. What is your emotional reaction to seeing Shanon Burgess on the stand?
I'm very uncomfortable. I don't think I'm as uncomfortable as you. I didn't feel like I needed to poop, but I did feel like they had to have known some of this stuff before they put him on the stand. He had to have known. The audacity, again.
The mendacity.
The mendacity. We're just going to we're just going to get away with it.
Yeah.
You know, and here's the thing. I'm not concerned about an expert not having a degree.
I don't think anyone's concerned about that. And I actually think juries probably relate well to people who don't have PhDs, right?
Yeah, that's not the point, though. The point is that it's very obvious on paper that they tried to hide it and they changed it and he used it to get better jobs. And he's testified a lot for probably insurance companies and other law firms. And he lied to get those jobs.
Yes.
And those jobs if we look at this case, someone's life is on the line and someone's already died.
I'll tell you the least bad lie that he could have told to get and keep his job is, I'm pursuing my degree and I'm getting it next year. I'm pursuing my degree and I'm getting it next year. And then he did that over and over and over again, apparently.
17 years of that. Yeah.
Yeah. And Aidan Carney pointed out that he has actually been in the program for graduation multiple times at this school.
What?
And somebody who knows somebody who worked at the school or somebody who worked at the school said, yeah, you do that by applying to graduate because they print the list way before because clearance to graduate happens right at the end. I know that. My son just went through it. You get your clearance to graduate right before. So he applied to graduate 2 or 3 times and didn't. So I don't get the sense that it's all work and life holding this guy back, you know?
No.
Yeah.
Maybe he's CIA.
Maybe he's like one of the vampires in Twilight who's just going to school
or
forever.
Sinners. Have you seen Sinners?
Yeah. But you know how in Twilight, Edward went to high school forever because he liked learning or whatever, and he wanted to meet his soulmate, a high school girl.
Yeah. My impression is that it was incredibly embarrassing. His little tuft of hair seemed sweaty and red. And I just don't understand what Hank Brennan is doing. What blows my mind is whenever he's called out, whenever his witnesses are called out for either a mistake or something they've done, he comes back on redirect even more forceful and even more of an asshole. How dare you question? This is what we're saying. He just comes back and he gets even crazier when they question. That's what happened with him today.
Yeah.
When he finally got to redirect.
I actually think he's pretty good at redirect. I
thought he did well today.
Yeah. There were points where I was like, all right. I was like, wait a minute, what am I doing? Agreeing. But there are points where I could imagine a juror being like, all right, this makes sense. This poor guy was just beat up for a day, but this is the explanation, blah, 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 blah. But then he got
Unless he wasn't done.
No. And then he got into the details of his theory, which we'll talk about. Yeah. But no, Alessi was not done. Alessi came back and pulled out yet another court filing that filed in 2023 that showed him planning to graduate in 2024. I don't buy I've never seen these documents. I don't know who's doing this. It's on the website. Who doesn't look at their bio on their office website? Everybody does, right? So yeah, I don't buy that. It's funny because yesterday I made the comment that he seemed pretty good at taking it, the beating up. But then you said something interesting that I saw more of today, which was just he has confidence in his mediocrity and his confidence in his, like, he has mendacity, right?
He's shameless.
So he's shameless, and the reason he's so chill is because he doesn't care. That's your thought, right?
Yeah, that's how I read him yesterday, and even more so today, because, and the other thing I don't buy is that he and Hank didn't talk about this.
Oh, absolutely.
That's some bullshit. The way that he was reeling off the answers when Brennan was asking him, it was all rehearsed.
Sure.
And I don't understand how they get away with that. I don't understand how when the defense says, did you talk to anybody about your testimony today? Or did you talk to anybody between yesterday and today from the prosecution's team? And he says, no, absolutely not, or whatever. How is that not a lie? Like, he's rehearsed, whether he has a different, maybe Aperture has a legal department and they talk to him through, like, maybe Hank went through them.
Maybe they didn't talk. Maybe they emailed. Maybe they texted on Signal.
Yeah, maybe.
I'd love to see their communications. You know how they made them send all the communications between the defense and ARCA? I'd love to see their communications. That would be interesting.
Oh, yeah. There'd be a lot of copy and pasting.
So he had yet another real shit moment on the stand today when Alessi got him to testify very forcefully that he was exactly right in his timing. And then it was pointed out to him that he had it wrong by 24 hours. And then he wouldn't stop saying that he was right. His whole timeline.
That's what I'm saying.
Clocked the 29th and 30th instead of the 28th and 29th. And then even after, he's like, no, it's still accurate. What are you talking about? Just say, oh, that's fucked up. I said to you by text, to be fair, when I started this podcast, I would always get it mixed up. Is it the midnight of the 29th or midnight of the 28th? And I would sometimes say it wrong. But I'm also not testifying in court in a murder trial. And I'm also not the person. Did no one else at his job look at these slides that he prepared? And by the way, the slides are so ugly. They look like high school presentation slides.
Did Hank Brennan or anyone in his office not look at the slides? The 29th, that date is, and from the 28th into the 29th is what we all know and don't even have to think about.
That's right.
The idea at 1:30, as soon as he said the 30th, I was like, what? And then he really was just like sticking with it. And I hope the jury saw what Alessi did. I think Alessi struggled a little bit today.
Yeah.
Especially because Burgess came back a little bit more forceful in his
adjusted clock responses.
Yeah. And honestly, you're going to have to explain to me what happened.
Yes.
Because can I just say, this is the only thing I'll say.
Yeah.
When I put this in a note, I said, are we arguing about a minute's time difference that makes the case worse for the prosecution?
Yes.
Is all this about that? And if it is, why are we doing this?
Well, we're arguing about it because the phone shows user interaction after the Lexus says there was an event. One of the most interesting things that came out today is that the trigger or text stream event, depending on who you talk to, does not in any way say like what it was. It won't. It's like, and it's so there's no proof that it was a collision at all, which made me say like I really want to see the text stream event from 5:00 in the morning when she hit John O'Keefe's car. It would be interesting to compare the two. So do you want me to explain to you what like the technical side of this is?
Yeah, because what they were arguing back and forth about, I was like, I have no idea what they're talking about anymore.
Yeah.
So, and I think part of it was because Burgess was using his own language and Alessi was using different language to describe the same thing. And I'm wondering if the jury was as confused as I was.
Yeah.
Please explain it.
Okay, so the event in dispute is 1162.2. 1162.1 is the 3-point turn, and 1162.2 is the alleged collision. That's the number of the event, okay?
Okay, the number of the event.
Yeah, so if I say 1162.2, I'm referring to the actual thing that the Lexus recorded, all right? DeSogra is a expert for the defense, and in his report submitted on time and everything, he was analyzing Aperture's work, and his report included some slides from Welcher's presentation. So that's how it was interesting. That's how he was able to bring Welcher's stuff in today, because those slides were in DeSogris' report. And DeSogris basically says, Aperture is all wrong. And if this is the time of the event, it doesn't matter because John's phone shows activity by a human being after that. It shows that he had to have opened it with his face, locked it, and then put it into pocket state, or it went into pocket state. So he was basically saying that, like, they're saying all these things, whatever they think, it doesn't matter because of this. So seeing that is what apparently according to Burgess, is what inspired him to, quote, clarify, because he was worried that, Welcher and his reports wouldn't be clear to the jury what's true. He's like, I was planning just to say it on testimony, and then I realized I should clarify it. Right. So that's his excuse. So what he's saying is that about 26 seconds or more is the time difference between the recorded time of the event and the actual event. And he's using John O'Keefe's phone to assert that. And what he's doing is he's basically saying that the phone and the Lexus are not synced up. He can calculate the actual time on the phone by comparing it with trigger event 11621 when they made the 3-point turn, because that's like in Waze or whatever.
Right.
So he can compare the two, or maybe it's location, I don't know. He can compare the two. So he's syncing it from that moment when they made the 3-point turn. So he's syncing it so that there's this drift of like 26 or 29 seconds or whatever. Because, and as Alessi very smartly pointed out, it's really biased to use the 3-point turn as your syncing point. It's arbitrary, first of all. And it's biased because, you wouldn't know about the 3-point turn unless that was part of a collision accusation, right?
Report.
And he kept saying that, I was just looking at the sign. It's not collision, but he used the word collision in his new report, but not his old report. So that's how it works. And the problem is that what the defense is using is the sync times between John and Karen's phones when she called him and left messages for him. Okay, so that's how they're doing their clock sync. The issue there is that they didn't talk at all about the times Karen called John close to the event. They talked about the times that Karen called John at like 5 a.m. and started leaving him messages. And this dude is saying that the farther away you are from the time in question, you can't use that synchronization to synchronize at a different time of day, because Apple's pinging its servers all the time in two different. So that's his general theory. I hope that makes sense. But that what was in dispute was that he used this 3-point turn as the lineup event to sync their clocks. And the 3-point turn is part of a prosecution, part of their theory. The issue with that is that they showed a clip later today where Karen herself said, and I've heard this before, the 3-point turn was she was going in the wrong direction and had to turn around to get onto Fairview, which is proven by the fact that she was facing Ryan Nagel at that intersection. She would not have been facing him at the intersection.
She turned around in a driveway.
So that's why they were facing each other at that light, so that they could turn on the Fairview.
That's been established in this trial, though. So why? Let me ask you one question, though, because, and maybe I heard this wrong, but who wrote the first report? Was it DeSorga or was it Burgess? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Burgess wrote a report in January. He actually then corrected it also in January. And then DeSogra wrote his report after. By the way, it's DeSogra, and Hank Brennan keeps pronouncing it wrong, which is why America is now pronouncing it wrong, but I believe it's DeSogra.
DeSogra.
Yeah, so DeSogra's expert report, he also did testing or whatever, uses some aperture stuff in it and says this is why this is wrong. This conclusion is wrong.
And then Burgess goes back and does the same thing, though.
Burgess wrote a new report, quote, an amendment to his report that he called Hank Brennan about on the 7th and then submitted to him on the 8th. He says, called him on the 7th, and then submitted to him on the 8th, and then the defense got on the 11th. So that was the order. It was Burgess, DeSogra, Burgess.
But I think that's my question. So DeSogra, was using data from Burgess.
He was using data from Welcher.
That's what I was
Welcher
trying to
is Burgess's colleague, okay? So he was saying,
right?
Yes, that's why this is wrong. He was using the Welcher slides for that, okay?
Right.
And so, somehow Burgess now has to account for the fact that the dude he works with, who's superior to him in the organization, and this trained engineer, which Alessi slipped in today, his data is different than Burgess's. It'll be interesting if they bring, which they will, I think. They have to bring Welcher on the stand. They said they were going to. It'll be interesting to see how he explains this clock drift thing, if he agrees with it or not, because his report is what it is.
But at the end of the day,
it doesn't fucking
help the
matter.
Prosecution.
No,
it really doesn't help. And so my question is, what is the motivation from Hank Brennan to spend this much time on this and to really drill down? Because he introduced the DeSogra report into evidence today, which, how crazy is it that he's asking a witness to testify about a report when the jury hasn't even heard from the author of that report yet.
Right. This is how he got it in, though, because Burgess evoked Desogra. So he was able to show Desogra's work. He was able to bring that in earlier, like today. And then he was able, and Desogra's work included basically like a screenshot of Welcher's work. So he didn't have to wait until Welcher to say.
This is ludicrous.
It's really, really silly. But I still don't believe that the user interactions on John O'Keefe's phone at 12:32:16 and 12:33:14 were necessarily done by John O'Keefe. I still believe somewhere in my heart that whatever happened to him happened after the 80 steps and 3 floors data that you see recorded in the 1220s, at 1223, 1224, something like that. I believe that's when the thing happened to him. I really, really do. And I think these phone events may be another person using his phone. I'm not like saying I'm 100% sure about that, but I strongly suspect it because it just makes sense in terms of like my garage theory and so forth. So anyway, that's the technical explanation. There was also some stuff about him blaming this defense expert Gaffney, who extracted data from Karen Read's chips. I hate the term chip off. It just sounds so silly. He kind of accused her yesterday of being the reason why he mixed up bits and bytes.
Bits and bytes.
And
bytes.
Yeah. And Alessi was really drunk. He was like, is he blaming that on somebody else? Like, no, it was all my mistake. But it happened because of what she did.
So you are blaming Hannah.
Typical
Gaffney
man, right?
Yeah. Blech.
Won't take responsibility for anything.
How about, going back to the timing, how about that video that Brennan played in court today from Karen saying she pulled into the driveway at 12:41? Where did she get that time?
There must be a message on John O'Keefe's phone that supports it. And what I heard is that she, in the background of that call, you can hear her pulling into the garage. You can hear the beep, 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 beeps. And you can hear her going into the car and her boots clacking on the floor, which she wouldn't have done, by the way, if he was alive. That was a joke.
I know.
But as many people have pointed out, if she connects to his Wi-Fi at 12:36 is when she's probably approaching the house or approaching the driveway or whatever.
Yeah.
5 minutes or so is actually not a tremendous amount of time if she's also calling him from the car. And those calls were rapid fire, like boom, ba-doom, ba-doom, ba-doom. So, she could be making a mistake on which call that was, or she could have spent more time in the car. And I know it sounds like I'm willing to play with minutes on her side, but not prosecution side, except there's no disputing that 12:36 data point. No one has disputed it on the technical side at all. It shows up multiple places or something because no one's disputing it. And I think he played that clip today to discredit his own witness, Guarino, which is fucking weird. But nobody is disputing the 12:36. So it doesn't matter what time she said she pulled into the garage because her Wi-Fi connected with John O'Keefe's house at 12:36, period.
Which means that if they're adding, 30 seconds to a minute onto
the timing, it's actually worse for them. Yeah.
It's so much worse for the prosecution. Why are they fighting this so much? It's just weird.
It's totally weird. It's totally weird. And I think that they think that the jury will think that it's possible to get from one place to the other. Do you know what would have been amazing? If on The View, it included the drive from Fairview to One Meadows. So the jury could physically... On a
clear day.
Yeah. So the jury could physically clock how long it takes to get from one place to the other. Granted, they're on a bus, not in a car. There'll be some things that were different, but it's a couple of miles away. It's a 6 or 7 minute drive. Like, nobody disputes that except this guy on Twitter who insists that she could have gotten there in 3 or 4 minutes. I don't know. Maybe she could have. But I just think it's too tight. I think it's way too tight.
It's way too tight. And if they're adding time to it, so now they're saying that it's 12:32.
The whole point of them saying that is because it puts the alleged collision event after the final user interaction on the iPhone.
So they're basically trying to back this information into Whiffin's testimony.
They're trying to explain away the fact that there was user interaction with the iPhone after 12:32. What's interesting, what happened today, is that at one point, Burgess claimed that steps were not user interaction unless he had to be like, doesn't that account for the emotions of a human being? And he had to be like, yeah. By the way, the fact that, saying the whole graduation didn't graduate thing is one thing, but the major being wrong is something else that I cannot wrap my mind around.
Being made up, not even being wrong. There is no such thing.
Have you ever heard the acronym BGS before?
No. And
Me neither.
I was like...
And he's like, that's just known. I'm like, I've never heard of that. I know lots of people with their bachelor's in general studies, but I've never seen BGS.
BGS me either. And that the same mistake this Bachelor of General Science and Math and Business, whatever it was that, you know, he made up or they made up, the fact that it also shows up in the federal case as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what's the jury thinking? Like, what are your thoughts on that? What's the jury thinking?
The jury's thinking either his workplace is ashamed of him, so they keep upping his credentials to make them look better, which also doesn't speak well to the work that they are submitting.
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Or they're thinking this poor guy, he's just being questioned on this thing that doesn't really matter. Or they're thinking this guy's pretty shameless about not feeling bad about this thing not being true that keeps coming up again and again. And, you know, the excuse of, you know, as many of you can relate to, you know, work, life, and family got in the way of my graduating. If there are people on that jury that did any education when they were working or living or had a family, I don't think that him saying as many of you can relate to is going to be helpful. I mean, it didn't help me. I'll tell you, part of me, like, does feel bad that this guy was beat up so hard. I can't help it because I'm a human being.
Yeah, of
but
course.
As somebody who got her degree when I was writing a book and working full time and the parent of like a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old or however old they were at the time, hearing someone say, I just didn't finish it because of this it doesn't play well for me. Granted, it happens, but like, you weren't like a stay-at-home parent. He didn't claim that. He didn't claim, basically he just couldn't finish and he can't finish. And again, no judgment. But he's testifying in a murder case as an expert when claiming on his work website that he has a fake degree in a major that doesn't exist.
But that's my point again, is for him to turn to the jury and say, as many of you will understand, work, life, blah, 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 got in the way. It sounds exactly like the Jen McCabe answer of being a soccer mom and, you know, everybody, I'm just a regular mom. You guys will understand that, you know. Right. He's been coached and he's been coached by Hank somehow, either through an intermediary or whatever. But I hate it. I hate that he's skirting the rules here. You know what I mean?
The coaching by Hank is so consistent. How many witnesses have you heard say, that could have happened, but I don't remember the specifics of what I said. I don't remember the specifics of, you know, it's like they're using that phrase to explain away inconsistencies. And we've heard it from like 3 witnesses at this point. I know Jen McCabe said it a million times. I know that Yuri Buchanan said it, but I don't remember the specifics. Is a Hankism, I think.
Yeah, and I think that these witnesses who have a really bad day and then come back the next day and they've changed, I mean, they're coached by somebody. It doesn't just happen. They're not that self-aware that they can fix the issues they had on the stand without help, you know? And if the help all feels the same, it's got to be coming from one person or, you know. So I just, you know, I'm really frustrated with that. I'm also frustrated with the fact that if this was happening with Arca,
Hank would be losing his damn mind and Bev would be kicking them out of the trial.
The fact that she's sitting there looking at and listening to a witness who very openly lied and the company lied about him and he's made some, I mean, in the timing, like I bet that Alessi, they were probably really happy that she didn't allow the voir dire.
Yeah.
Because this is all in open court now, in front of the jury, in front of the whole world. But at the same time, because it's in front of the jury and because it's in front of the whole world, I feel like she should be doing more about this. I feel like she should be somehow shutting this down and going, I guess because it's an expert witness and not a material witness, that it's different. But at the same time, I mean, I feel like she should be instructing the jury a little bit more here.
Yeah.
Because what are they supposed to do with this information?
Yeah.
Other than the fact that she's told them they don't have to believe any of the testimony if they find a witness isn't credible. Like, I get that. But this feels like they're kind of breaking the law. You know what I mean? I know they're not.
And Hank lied to her.
Yes. Like, why isn't she admonishing him?
He said it was a surprise that he received the report. And now if he says, oh, I was surprised to receive the phone call, that's what I meant, she'll probably be like, fine. If Alan Jackson said that about the Arca dudes, she'd be throwing him off the case.
The fact that she's still saying that the defense lied to her, which is such bullshit. They didn't lie.
Mm-hmm.
If they were doing this, like, she would have kicked them out of court.
Right.
You know, so the double standard is there again. It's driving me nuts. And then I heard you mention, there were a couple of things I wanted to ask you about. Oh, did you happen to watch the microdots video I sent you?
I did, yes.
Okay, so that one doesn't have a lot of narration. It just is telling you where he's going and what he's doing.
Yes. We're talking about Brian Higgins in the parking lot of the Canton Police Station and in the Canton Police Station. Yeah.
Yeah. So Microdots put out a video, I think it was yesterday or the day before, that breaks down the entire surveillance video, and they show you the blueprint of the Canton PD. They show you the direction he's walking, where he's going. They also show you that minute and a half or so that he goes into the dispatch room. And my first thing when I saw the video, I could see a doorway off of dispatch that led to a stairwell. And my first thought was, what if he went somewhere else in the building? Right? That was my first thought. And then Microdots was like, he would have had time to go upstairs. We don't know what he would have done up there, but he would have had time. So that was something I was thinking about. More importantly, you and I have talked about this a lot. What was he doing there? What was he doing? When I was watching the video sort of in slow-mo and having Microdots explain to me where he was and what he was taking and what he was doing in the parking lot, he very much is not there to move cars. He's going through all of those vehicles looking for something.
He moved one car.
He moved one car, but that also means that he perjured himself because he said he moved two, I think, or maybe even three in the last
Yeah, you
trial.
See him now. One very benign theory I have about, because you do see, it's harder to see in the uncleared up video. In the cleared up video, it's very clear that when he goes to that truck that's parked facing his Jeep, that he takes out a giant duffel bag that he then puts in the Jeep. That's very, very clear.
He gets that duffel bag after he goes through all the other cars looking for something else, though. And he doesn't find what he's looking for.
That's right. And I think that duffel bag might be like his clothes and shit from his trip to New York. It could be.
Sure.
Because, he went to New York to go to that other cop's funeral the day before. So that could be that. But, some people have mentioned a few things he may have been doing at the station. They've talked about him maybe grabbing a radio. Or because I guess there's radios that they encourage the cops to carry. So he could have been getting a radio to hear scanner traffic. He could have been grabbing a Faraday bag, as of course we talked about. He could have been grabbing another phone, like a police issued or burner phone. There's a lot of things he could have taken. And, I think going into dispatch, he knew that was on video, which is, remember in the first time, I think he testified seeing somebody in dispatch and like waving to them or something.
Yeah. Yep.
Did you see, some people have pointed this out and it worked for me as well, but did you see that it looks like there's something on his hand when he comes out of the dispatch? Like on his hand?
His hand looks like bruised and red.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Granted, it's a still from a grainy video, but so I'm always like skeptical when I see people post this on Twitter. So I tried to recreate it. I took a still myself, a screenshot of the video, and it's there. It's even it's like, it's either a shadow or a bruise, like right. People can't see, but I'm pointing to like the webbed area between my thumb and forefinger, and then a little bit back from there. So like the back of the hand, it looks like there's a bruise.
Yeah, I saw it too. I don't want to, because we don't know and there's no medical evidence and there's no testimony about it. But I'm just like, what is this dude? Why did he leave Brian Albert's house at that time of night? Like, Irish goodbye, so he says.
And then call Brian Albert.
Goes right to the police station. He's who's he talking to? Who's he talking to?
Good question.
And I hope when they get him on the stand, I hope that they can ask and he is able to say. But the issue is that because he destroyed his phone, we are not going to ever know the truth. And he cherry picked the messages that he handed over to the police. And I just feel like he got the heads up all over the place, probably from Berkey.
Oh, yeah. Couldn't Verizon have been subpoenaed or something? It's possible to get his call data.
Didn't they do that in Adnan's case?
Yeah. They absolutely did. That's how they got the Nisha call and all that stuff.
Watching that video again and seeing him, it was when he was going from car to car looking for something. And like the one when he got in the truck and he rolled the window down to get rid of the snow and he turned it on, he moved it. But all the other cars, he just goes into them. Were they his cars?
I think maybe, but I know what he's going to say. He's going to say he was looking for a snow brush. That's what he's going to say.
Ugh.
That's what he's going to say, because that's what if I was lying about that, that's what I would say. I would say
he gets a snow brush. That's what he looks like he ends up getting. Do you remember that part?
Yeah. So he's probably going to say that about looking in the cars.
Well, it's not like you can say a Faraday bag. So
he went into the police station. Like it looks like he may have retrieved something because you kind of see something in his hand when he's coming out of that room. And then he looked for something in cars, moved a duffel bag from one car to the other. But most important, he's on the phone a decent amount of the time that he's at the police station. They show a bunch of times where you see the light on his phone that he's either texting or talking
when
to somebody.
When he does the face recognition as soon as he steps out of the Jeep. The part of the microdots video that I found interesting is that they were saying that he starts dialing and then waits to make the call until he's outside because he knows there's cameras inside that can probably hear him.
Yep.
If that's the case and he talked to someone in dispatch, I'd love to know what that audio sounds like.
Yeah. I bet if he talked to someone in dispatch, it was really benign. He's probably like, I left something. I got to go get it. And then he whatever.
You heard anything? Is it a busy night? Like what's happening?
Yeah. What's going on tonight? So
anyway,
do you think that we're going to get any groundbreaking testimony from this very sweet lab tech?
No, I feel like we have spent most of this week, other than Irene Scordi-Bello, I just feel like we haven't really gotten through much this week. It's all been regurgitated DNA. I mean, I am still blown away that we're not making more hay out of the fact that there's more than one male DNA on his clothes.
Yes. And all the stuff.
It could be so many people.
Yeah.
But the idea that they didn't get DNA from anyone else besides Proctor and Buchanan.
Then they're defending against the defense there, right? So just for those who don't know, yesterday we had a DNA expert on and he's describing the test that he did on the DNA mixtures found on both evidence items like the taillight and on John O'Keefe's clothing, on the stains on his clothing.
Right.
And there's like a nonillion to 1 chance of it being Buchanan. And it only a 70,000 or 17,000 or whatever.
75,000.
A chance of being Proctor. And I'm like, why is it so much less? That's fucking weird. Of course, it still sounds like it excludes him, but it's still a weird difference. Maybe it's just because everyone in Massachusetts is like related to each other. I don't know. But that the two unknown males, they just, and we heard the other DNA guys say too, like, it could be anybody, which is not helpful. I mean, so I just want to mention, Shanon Burgess is getting a lot of heat. He's the subject of a lot of very funny TikToks, tweets, and I am not about bullying people. However, the cleverness of the internet will never fail to impress me. Like people leaving the reviews on the Google search for the Aperture site. There's one that's 5 stars, and I'm really impressed with Shanon Burgess's work, and it's signed Alan Jackson. And of course, his nicknames, Aidan Carney called him Walmarka. He's been called Timu witness.
When you put that in the notes, I laughed so hard. Walmarka.
Yeah. That's so not my vibe. I'm not a bullier, but the cleverness of the internet and this guy's attitude makes it okay to say funny things.
I don't like his attitude. I feel like I honestly think that because he discovered something here, like he has decided I think he thinks he broke this case wide open, honestly.
Just like Whiffen, yeah.
Yeah, they both think they broke this case wide open and they can prove that it didn't happen. They can't prove anything. Whiffen doesn't have access to Apple technology and Burgess doesn't have access to Lexus technology, basically.
And apparently he was using someone else's data to do his stuff, right? He didn't have access to the raw data.
He kept saying, I was using an exemplar. The exemplar is not the same model or the same year of Karen's Lexus, and they couldn't do the testing on Karen's Lexus. So they tried to insert this chip into this other exemplar, and it still didn't work.
Yeah. To be clear, they bought a car.
They bought a car
at the state's expense,
a Lexus,
a 2021 Lexus that retailed at the time for like almost $80,000.
Yeah,
and they bought this car,
just
I guess,
to fuck
used.
With it.
This is costing the state, like, it must be like $1 million plus at this point. It's insane.
Easily.
All of this is to disprove a third party culprit theory. None of it is to prove. I mean, granted, like, they don't have any proof she hit him. The injuries don't match. And that's the most damning thing of all, potentially.
Right.
And her data, people insist on the internet. This very nice Karen Reed is guilty guy on Twitter is like, I'm really convinced by the phone data. Her event is too close to his phone going dark. And I'm like, it might be close, but it doesn't matter because she was at the other house at 12:36.
Right.
So, it's like,
They don't, like we've said this, we've been saying this for weeks. Hank Brennan doesn't have a case. The only thing he has is the crash reconstructionist, but they have better crash reconstructionists. And so he has to spend this entire case building to the experts, and hoping that he can make the jury see that his experts are more intelligent, better, smarter, whatever.
Yeah.
But his experts don't even have bachelor degrees, and he's going up against like neurosciences.
One of the things that strikes me is that all the experts are alone in their opinion.
Yeah.
Whiffen is the only one who has this opinion, and Burgess is the only one with his opinion, and the defense is going to bring in multiple people. They have 2 dog bite experts. They're going to have 2 data experts. Karen Reed said in a courthouse interview yesterday that you're going to be hearing a lot more about the data when we put on our case, and I can't wait for that. One thing I wanted to ask you about, yesterday I told Kevin that in the Brian Walsh case, his attorney is looking to throw out all of his incriminating Google searches because the Norfolk DA's office newfound determination that Cellbrite reports are not accurate. So all in service of making Jen McCabe not a liar. They could be throwing other potential slam dunk murder cases. I mean, this guy Walsh literally Googled, how do I dispose of a body?
I know. He's guilty.
Yeah, he did.
Didn't Proctor work on that case as well?
I think he may have. Well, I know Guarino did.
Well, Guarino seems to have his hand in all these cases. He's probably their only like data analysis guy. I think Proctor and Guarino and probably Tully had something to do with the Brian Walsh case as well.
Yeah, yeah.
And that guy, like...
He murdered and dismembered his wife.
He dismembered his wife of like the mother of his 3-year-old child, and then put her body in dumpsters all around the city. And he might get away with it because they cannot say that they were wrong about Karen
because
Reed.
They upcharged her to a murder charge. I mean, if they had just left it at vehicular manslaughter or whatever, right?
DUI.
If anybody a lot of people in the world think that she did hit him, but it wasn't on purpose. Like, that's what I used to think before I looked at all the evidence. Like, a lot of people think that, right? Hitting somebody but not on purpose is not the same as murdering and dismembering your wife and looking up how to get rid of a body on
and lying about it for like a long time.
If you're going to balance these 2 outcomes, the only reason Karen's outcome is getting so much weight is because they put all their chips in the pot with it by upcharging her to murder, second-degree murder, and because this case is making them famous. That is the only reason why, and they could potentially be throwing. Also, by the way, how many cases that this guy testified today are going to be now re-looked at because his credentials were wrong? If I were an appellate lawyer, that's exactly what I would do.
That's what I'm saying. Insurance claims that have paid out, how do they deal with that?
Or insurance claims that have not paid out. Because he's working for the insurance companies and he's probably screwing over regular people who aren't getting their money.
I just can't. I can't. I'm like, it almost feels like people do a cursory search on the internet. They like ChatGPT this and they go, yeah, he looks good. And they do nothing further. They do no other levels of research and they just put them up. And they don't even think about it. Like, how did it pass Hank Brennan that there was that glass, the sticker reflection in the bumper with the 2 pieces of glass? How did that pass the entire prosecution team?
Because they're either dummies or they're sloppy or they're evil and think they can get away with lies. And I think it's some weird mixture of the 3 of those things.
But like today, how did it pass the entire prosecution team when they've had this PowerPoint since the 8th of May that he put the date of January 30th, 2022? Because
they're dummies and they're sloppy. That's why. That was a dummies and sloppy one, right?
I'm a lawyer now.
Yeah, I'm a lawyer. I'm a forensic linguist. I'm a medical examiner. I'm going to be a dog bite expert in the next couple weeks, for sure. I am a data analyst.
Forensic scientist.
Apple could hire me.
Aperture could hire you.
100%. I have a bachelor's, by the way, in English. With a minor in communications.
Ooh, that's a hefty one.
And I have the pictures to prove it because I took pictures.
You could write your own bio.
I could write my own bio. Rebecca Lavoie, who has commented on many cases on her many podcasts,
is an expert, period.
Expert in all of it. All right. So
in everything.
Let's talk again. Who do you think they're going to bring on finally? I keep hearing rumors that they're about to close their case or about to, but like.
Yeah, they have to bring Welcher on.
And their dog bite guy, right? Isn't that the plan?
Do they have are they using him?
They have that Temu dog trainer dude.
Did they get him on Sheen or whatever that's called?
All I can remember is that the prosecution's dog bite expert has like all these incredibly cheesy YouTube videos, and the defense expert was a cop who now trains cops in canine stuff.
And trains dogs too, and like understands what a dog bite looks like. I feel like the prosecution's dog bite expert, he's probably one of those people that like posts his videos and then he has little like cartoon paw prints up and down the sides.
Well, we all know screen grabs matter. I mean, if you look at the TikToks for this stupid podcast, Kevin always has me like with my hands on my face like,
I know. You have great expressions, though.
I am an expressive person, Mel.
I love it.
And you should have seen how expressive I was watching this testimony the last 2 days.
I could hear it in your voice. You sounded like sick to your stomach.
Oh my God, my nervous poops.
I wish I could have seen Kevin's like full reaction to it though, because he sounded so funny when I was listening to the episode last night. His responses to you were so funny.
At this point, nothing surprises him except when it does. And this was surprising. All right. We need to wrap it, but we will talk again. Let's see if they rest their case tomorrow. I'm guessing if they bring on either their neurologist or their dog bite expert, I don't think either one of those cross-examinations is going to be short. I really don't.
No. And it's not going to go well for them.
I don't think they're resting their case in the next day. I really don't. It'll be hard. The next day? 2 experts at least with long cross-examinations. 3.
I think they're going to rest. They'll rest by Thursday. I think that Brennan's trying to figure out the timing of it because he wants them to have an awkward start and then a weekend break.
I think that the defense is going to cross-examine the hell out of Welcher, their dog bite expert, and Dr. Wolf, their neurologist. I really
can't wait.
I can't wait either.
Can't wait.
All right. So we will talk again. Mel,
yes.
Thank you so much for joining me on the Readathon.
Thank you.
Partners in Crime Media.